All right. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our session, CM11, Use Downtime to Upgrade. I'm Amanda Hart. I've led several of the sessions so far, so if you've joined us before, we've met virtually. I lead our marketing team here at CribMaster, so thank you all for coming. I'm also joined today by three very special colleagues. We have Carol Stiltner, who's our implementation project leader, and Chris Lambert, who's our product manager in charge of CM, ATR, and CM Client. We're also lucky enough to be joined by Judy Warrels, our IIS web server administrator, who's part of our fabulous hosted services team. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today. So just to dive in, one of the silver linings of this COVID crisis is that we all have a little bit more time on our hands to handle some of the more administrative things that we might have been putting off or putting on the back burner on our normal day-to-day. So it's really an ideal time with everyone just having a little bit more free time to get our systems up and running on the latest version of CribMaster. So we talked a lot over the last few weeks in previous webinars about how CribMaster can be used to help overcome some of the challenges in your supply chain. And a lot of these workflows will work best in CM11. So now's a really great time to make sure you're up and running on the latest. So knowing that upgrading can be a little intimidating or daunting, we're gonna go through a couple key things. First, Chris and Carol are going to take us through 6 new features and enhancements in CM11 that we think are valuable to you. There's a lot more than just those 6, but those are the ones that we're most excited about. That'll take around the first 30 minutes, the first part of the webinar, and then we're going to pause and do some Q&A about the features that we showed you. After that, we'll turn it back to Carol, and she'll take us through an overview of the upgrade process itself. It'll be a pretty high-level tutorial. There's a lot more detail we can go into privately later, but this is just really to show you that upgrading can be pretty easy and quick. So it's nothing that you guys need to be afraid of or need to feel like you need a ton of extra support or anything like that. So before we get started, just a few quick reminders. Everyone is muted, so please type your questions in the Q&A box along the bottom. I know there are a lot of nuances with this topic, so if you do have something that's very specific to your situation or your company, chat me and privately, and we can set up additional time after the webinar to talk about your specific scenario. We're also recording the session. We'll send it around after the call, as always, so if you want to share with anyone in IT or your DBA or just a colleague, feel free to do so. So with that, I will turn it over to Chris and Carol to take us through some new features.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So welcome to our CM11 upgrade tutorial class and some highlights of some of the features that we are really excited about and want to share with you that are implemented in CM11. So one of the first questions that we get is why upgrade? System is working fine. There's no issues. Why should I bother to upgrade? One is functionality support for new machines, one of them being the flip top. Carol is giving a quick visual of those right now. So there is the main, there's the mini, and then there's the wall unit. All of these units are supported in our latest versions of the CribMaster software, the latest version of 11 and the latest the last version of 10. Keep in mind there are more features associated or applied for the flip top for 11 than there is in 10. The second reason that you want to really consider upgrading is most tech support issues are related to outdated versions. So newer versions have addressed the issues that were present in previous versions. So we get a lot of calls to our tech support team asking questions about what is this functionality, or can the software do this? And most of the time the answer is yes. It's just that you haven't upgraded to the latest version of the CribMaster application. The third reason is new features and improvements for the user experience. And we're going to talk a lot about some of those now, and Carol's going to give us a demo of each of those items. So to start off, I think we're going to start talking about the tool bags. So what are tool bags? Tool bags is a feature that allows users to issue commonly used items with a single click. So for an example of this is if you have a project or a project for some of your end users to work on, and they need 3 specific items. In this example, I'm going to go with PPE. Everyone's talking about that. So protective gloves, earplugs, and say protective sleeves. Instead of asking them to search and vend out these individual items, you can create a tool bag for them, name it, say, first ship PPE items, and then have it available to them as a vending option. Keep in mind, the user can also create, edit, and delete toolbag assignments themselves. So if it turns out that, say, a user can't fit into the item that you selected and there's a larger version, they are able to swap that out and put the new item in. And Carol is actually going to give us a demo of this shortly. We applied this feature to just to minimize the time that a user spends in front of the ATR, especially if you know that they need these items to continue to do their task for the day. So I'm going to turn it over to Carol and let her give you a quick demo of the toolbag feature.
Okay, so there's a couple ways that toolbags can be set up. First of all, they can be set up in CribMaster Client, you know, by management or whoever has access to CribMaster Client. So, for example, if I come in here and I have gone to the employee properties of an employee named Bill Peterson, and on his tabs, he has a tab called Toolbag. Now we have one that we previously set up. I'm in fact going to go ahead and delete this toolbag. If you at any time have a toolbag that isn't getting used, you can go ahead and delete it. And it's gone. So if I want to set up a new one, what I do is I click on the new toolbag button and it pops up a screen. It's got your standard CribMaster red X over here. What it wants is the name of the toolbag. This is just a text field that can be named anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and name this Bill's toolbag. Hit my tab key. Now the next thing I need to do is add items to the toolbag. So this second little icon over here says new item, and if I click on it, it puts a record, and we've got the ellipsis here. When I click on it, it's going to bring me a list of all of the items in the crib. So I can just pick and choose. Maybe I'll pick one of those, and then if I want another item, I can click the button again. Click the little ellipsis. Maybe I'll take one of those driver gloves and click the button again. I can put as many items as I want to put in the tool bag. Let me just scroll around a little and pick something else. I can also change the quantities of items right here. Let's say I wanted 2 pairs of the cowhide driver's glove. And when I'm happy with the way my tool bag looks, all I have to do is apply changes, and then I can go on and make, you know, another tool bag for Bill, or I can make a tool bag for somebody else, whatever I want to do over there. So to show you, when I get over here to ATR, and I'm going to go ahead and sync ATR because we all know that ATR takes data changes down from the database every 60 minutes, but we don't want to wait. So once we're done, now if I come in here and log in as Bill, and if I click over here on the tool bag button, I am going to see the tool bag that we set up in Client. And there can be multiple tool bags. They would be listed one after the other with the name right here. You can see the name, Bill's tool bag. So if this is something that Bill gets all the time, and he gets, you know, 2 of the MaxiChem, or I'm sorry, 1 of the MaxiChem gloves and 2 of the cowhide drivers and 1 pair of the safety glasses, and he does it all the time, all he has to do is click the issue button and the tool bag would be issued. He logs out and goes back to work. But if he wants to change something here, he can always click the edit button, and this gives him this actual screen. It looks very similar to the screen in CribMaster Client, and he can actually add items to this tool bag. Let's say he wants to add one of these. So he highlights the item he wants to add, clicks the add item button, and it adds it to the list. Maybe he wants to change the quantity of one of these items. Let's say that for the cowhide drivers, he's not really going to be greedy and he only wants 1 pair. He can highlight it and click the change quantity button, and change the quantity to 1. And when he's ready to issue the tool bag, he clicks done. He's actually saving the new properties of this tool bag. So now this tool bag is only going to have one of the cowhide gloves, and it's going to have this other Endura glove added to it. So he clicks done. That's what saves it. And when he's ready to issue it, he clicks issue. It's going to prompt him through the items, and these can be issued from, I think right now, Chris, it's Pro Stock, Pro Lock, Toolbox.
Toolbox, Modulock, and the Flip Top.
So carousels are going to be spinning, coils are going to be spinning, locker doors are going to be popping, whatever kind of vending machine you are using, and it's going to prompt you through each one. And when you're done, you log out, and that's all there is to it. So you can give users the option to create their own tool bags. We're going to log in as a different user, and we logged in as a user named Derry. So if we click on tool bags, Derry doesn't have any tool bags, but he can build one right from here. So he can say new, and it brings up that screen, and by default the name is going to be new bag, but I always think it's fun for people to name them something. We'll call this Derry's favorite tool bag. And the next thing he needs to do is click the add item button. So he highlights the item he wants, and he clicks add item. Then he highlights another item, and he clicks add item, and he highlights something else, and he clicks add item. If he decides he doesn't want this thing, he can highlight it and say remove. If he decides he wants a different quantity, he can highlight that and say change quantity, and he can change it to whatever he wants. And he can just keep configuring it until he's happy with the way it looks. And when he's ready, he clicks done. Now at this point, maybe he had some spare time on a Tuesday afternoon, and he knows that he always gets these items. He doesn't really want to issue them right now. That's fine. He can log out and go home. But when he comes back next time and he logs in and he goes to tool bags, his tool bag is going to be there, ready for him to issue. So he can issue it. Again, it's going to prompt him. Vending machines are going to be dispensing these items. And when he's done, he says log out, and he goes back to work. That's my favorite feature.
Awesome. Thank you, Carol. So one of the next features that we want to talk about after tool bags is shopping cart. So shopping cart is pretty self-explanatory. So anyone who's used an e-commerce site, you've seen a shopping cart. So shopping cart is a screen where you can add multiple items to the cart, review and edit the contents of the cart, and before issuing, users also have the ability to use a barcode scanner. So if you have one of those facilities where you have a list of items and you've also printed out a barcode book for those, the users could also open up their shopping cart, scan the items from the book, it will populate on the list, and then they can do the final issue at the screen after verifying exactly what they've selected. Again, they can edit and review that entire list before issuing, so it makes the issuing process a little easier, especially if they're doing it in bulk. This feature does work as with the Pro Stock, Pro Lock, Toolbox, Modulock, and Flip Top units that we provide here at CribMaster. And Carol's going to go ahead and give us a quick demo of this one. So Carol, again, back to you.
So what you do is you log in, and basically you're going to select the items you want. I like to do shopping carts in card view just because I can see better what I'm adding. So if you have images associated, you'll have these images. So let's say I want to add a pair of these gloves. So I highlight it and I click Add to Cart. And then if I want something else, maybe I also want these gloves, and I can say Add to Cart, and heck, let's get some red gloves too. And we're going to say Add to Cart. See that little number on my Add to Cart button? It increases with each item that I add to the cart. So just from this screen, I know how many items I have in my cart. I want to get something different. I don't need all gloves today. Let me find, oh, let's get a pair of glasses. Here's some glasses. So we'll highlight those and Add to Cart. And when I'm ready to, I think I've got everything I need, I can go to the checkout screen and I can see everything that I have in my cart. If I decide I want to change the quantity on something, maybe I need 2 pairs of these gloves. I can click the little plus right there and it will increase my cart quantity to 2. Maybe I decided I don't really need these latex gloves. So if I click the little minus button, since I only had 1 in there and now I'm changing the quantity to 0, ATR will pop up a message and ask me if I would like to remove the item from the cart, to which I can click yes, and the item disappears. Now let's say I missed something. I want to add something else from the list. I can always go back to issue mode, which brings me back here, and then I can scroll down. Let's zoom down here and find something. I like things with pictures. There's some coveralls. So I'm going to highlight it and say Add to Cart. Then I'm going to go look at my cart again, and here are the 4 items that I have in my cart. And if I'm satisfied with what I'm getting, I simply click the issue button. And again, this is like tool bags. It's going to issue all of these things without me having to go back and do another transaction. So, you know, locker doors will be popping open, coils will be spinning, Pro Stock carousels might be spinning, whatever kind of vending machine I am using. And we're going to follow all the prompts. And when we're finished, we're going to log out and get back to work.
Awesome. Thank you again, Carol. So one of the next features that I want to talk about is the pop-up images in ATR receiving. This is one of the many enhancements that we added to ATR to improve ease of use. We had a lot of customer feedback from admins and restockers on small things that we can do to make their lives easier. This one is one of, like I said, one of many, but this one is tapping on the image on the receive screen opens up a larger version of that image. Previously, that image was always there. It was just that tiny thumbnail, and it wasn't really helping anyone because, I mean, if you needed to verify that the item that you are actually restocking is the item that's on the screen, you know, that image didn't really help much. So after adding the image to the grid, it's relatively easy. Like Carol's going to show you, it's just a click away. So Carol is going to.
So this is the screen that we used to have, and as you can see, the images are very hard to see. All you have to do is touch the image on the screen, and it pops up a much larger image, so you can see exactly what you are receiving.
So yeah, a pretty straightforward but impactful enhancement to the ATR. Again, there were a lot of ease of use implementations done for the ATR, and a lot of those can be explored through our release notes. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment sections or reach out to us later and we can talk about those. The next one I want to talk to everyone about is the delayed interval issue. What this is an option to support the charging station kit for the ProLocks, multi-stores, and the charging locker. So a new field has been added to the item properties and called the delay issued interval, and it's in minutes. There's also bin level override in the bin properties page. This is a configurable setting where an admin can define the number of minutes that a device should hold the item before it can be issued again. The use case for this is if you have any device that you need to charge and you know it takes an hour for it to reach at full charge. You don't want second shift to grab the same item that first shift had, and they're running back to the machine to get another item. We implemented this, one, to actually allow for the full charge and to help with diminishing returns on the constant recharge of devices that take batteries. This is a feature that is implemented in Client, and Carol's going to give us a quick demo of that.
So let me show you how it works. For example, this rechargeable battery. I'm going to go ahead and issue this. And this item has not reached its delay issue interval time. And so ATR is going to pop up a message telling me that I have 655 minutes left for it to reach its issue delay time. But I have the option to go ahead and issue it now or not. If I say okay, the item will be issued. If I say cancel, the item won't be issued. I'm going to go ahead and say cancel, so we're not actually going to issue the item. And then we're going to come over to CribMaster Client and look at the ways to set that up. So as Chris just mentioned, in the properties of the item on the More tab, there is a field here called Delayed Issue Interval, and it's in minutes. So this one does not have one. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set up a 60-minute interval. Now this also can be overridden at the bin level. So if we come down here and go to the properties of this bin that this item is in, and we have the, ooh, where is it, Chris?
Oh, I was looking at your screen. It's at the bin properties.
So we're in the bin properties. That may be something that I have to enable at the bin. I have the checkout time limit, but oh, it's right here. It's right here. So this can be, if you have different, for example, this is a Black & Decker rechargeable battery. If you have multiples of these and they're in different bins, you can set for each specific bin, you can set an override. So maybe for the override, I'm going to set this for a different time, maybe 30 minutes. If you leave it at the global item level property, then it applies for all of the Black & Decker rechargeable batteries that we would have. Anyway, once it's set, we can come back over to ATR and we need to sync. And the very first time we go to issue this Black & Decker battery, we're going to be able to issue it because, again, the issue delay interval is based on the timestamp in the return transaction. Right. So we're going to go ahead and log in. We're going to find our Black & Decker battery and we're going to issue it. I didn't realize that it would start the first time. So maybe I'm wrong. We're going to go ahead and issue it.
Well, so to clarify that, the reason it's doing that is it's still basing off the last transaction. And it knows that it hasn't been in there for the amount of time. If you put it for less than 60 minutes, say a minute, it would allow you to issue it, no problem. So the system is smart enough to know that even though you just changed that time, it's still
going to go back and look at the last transaction time.
Exactly.
Even better. Okay. And so at any rate, these things are set up in Client. They are set up at the item level. They can be overridden at the bin level. And then they come through to ATR, and based on the timestamp in the return transaction, people will have the message pop up about whether or not they want to issue it.
Exactly.
Very cool feature.
All right, so one of the next features that we want to talk about here is keyword filtering. So keyword filtering, everyone is probably really familiar with this. It's a feature in ATR. It gives the ability to assign multiple keywords to an item to allow for easy filtering by the end user. It's a compounding filter that will shrink the issue screen list as each keyword is selected. So an example, you can create keywords for, say, item types. Then the next one could be an item descriptor, the use case for the item, and or the size. So as an example, for gloves, you can have gloves that are leather and large. You can have gloves that are cotton and small, gloves that are gray and medium, gloves that are for mechanical uses with protective knuckles. You can have gloves that are leathered and cuffed and large. And as you select these items, like I mentioned previously, your selection list will shrink. So we added this because we wanted to expand the use of the hierarchical tool groups. Item groups is an existing feature in CribMaster already, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with this. And we wanted this feature to allow for more freeform grouping and to get to a granular level when selecting an item. This also helps with users who may not particularly know the item they're looking for, but they have a general idea of what they want. This also helps them out here. And Carol's going to give us a quick demo of the keyword filtering and how it works.
So, and one of my favorite things about this feature is with inventory groups, what we have had up until we had keywords, every item could only belong to one group. With keyword filtering, an item can have as many keywords as you want it to have. So when you log into ATR, you're going to see this field called keywords, of course, once you've enabled the feature. And all you have to do is start touching the screen. Like if you're interested in gloves, you can touch the glove keyword. And it's going to filter the screen to show only items that have the keyword glove. From here, for example, if you want leather, you could then touch the leather button. And it's going to filter the screen to have only gloves that have the keyword leather. From here, depending on how you've set it up, I kind of set it up by sizes. So for example, if I say I want large, then it's going to filter the list even further to show items that have the keyword glove, the keyword leather, and the keyword large. And from here, it's pretty easy for me to pick what I want and click the issue button. Now let's say that I need to go backwards. These buttons operate like toggle buttons. Let's say, for example, I really need an extra large, not a large. So I can click the large button again, and it's going to toggle me back to where I have only selected glove and leather. And you can even see, I'm not sure if you can see it on my screen, but if you look at these two that are selected, they appear gray. And the three that are not selected have like a white background. So if I click extra large, now it becomes gray and it filters my list to only the items that have gloves, leather, and extra large. Then I can pick the one I want and hit the issue button. I've got more in my bin than the default issue quantity, so my little box pops up, and that's all there is to it. Log out and go back to work. So I wanted to show you how these are set up. The keywords are set up in Client, and they are a property of the item. There's a field. There's a new field in the item properties called item keywords. So if you have previously set up a keyword for the item, it's going to show in this field. And if I highlight down through here, you know, this, I just clicked on the next one, and this one has 2 keywords set up. And if I keep clicking down, I'll see the the view in the item keyword screen changes to show the keywords that I have associated with each of these items. So I think I have some in here that I have not set up yet. Let's look for something here that maybe doesn't have a keyword. Here's one. So for example, this is a AA battery, and I haven't set up keywords for this yet. So probably the first thing I want to do is set up the keyword battery. Now, if I start typing the word battery, if at any time in the past I have already added the keyword battery to any other item, it's going to show in my little drop-down box, and all I have to do is click on it. If it's the first time I've ever used this keyword, that little drop-down is not going to show up, and I will go ahead and type the whole keyword and hit the enter key. And you can see as you type these words, this is what did we say this was? AA. So for example, if I type AA, now that's the first time I'm ever using the keyword AA, so it's not presenting me with a drop down. I'm going to hit enter, and you can see that it puts these little X's between each of these keywords each time you hit enter. But what it also does is it adds these keywords to a keyword management list that you can use to expedite the situation, so that for all of the rest of the, maybe different packs and sizes and brands and what have you of AA batteries, you won't have to go and individually type these keywords into the item keyword field anymore. For example, now that I have added the AA keyword, and we already had the battery keyword, if I go to the System tab and I go to System Options, there's a new entry here called Keyword Management. This will show all of the keywords that I have ever added to the system. And you can see that my AA, which I just added for those batteries, is right here. So I can highlight it, and it will show me the one and only item that is associated with it. But from here, I can actually go and I can search my description field, for battery. And it turns out that I don't have any other AA batteries in here. I've got AAA, so don't want to join those to the AA keyword. But if I had multiple, again, different brands, maybe I have Rayovac AA batteries, or maybe I have AA batteries in something other than an 8-pack. I can just come down through here and check these boxes, and that will populate the keyword field in the item properties with my AA keyword. So it's very easy to manage, especially once you get your list of keywords going. And then if we come back over to ATR, we will now see, let's sync ATR, and then we will log in, and we should have a new keyword that shows up. And if you have a big list, there's a good chance that you're going to have more keywords that will show up in the real estate on your touch screen. So they are listed in, this list can grow. There's my AA. So if I click my AA, it's going to bring the one and only item that is associated with that keyword. And then from here, I can just click on it and issue it. And now it's been issued. I can log out and get back to work. How cool is that?
Awesome. Thank you, Carol. All right. So one of the last items I want to talk about, and not least, is data grid export. So the ability to direct, what is it? It's really the ability to export data to Excel and additional formats. Why did we do this? Data is king. We all know this. outside of looking at it, then the next best thing to do with data in CribMaster is manipulate it. And sometimes it's easier to do that outside of the application. So what we wanted to do was, one, make it easier for you to filter items that you were interested in looking at, and export it out into a format that is manageable for the users to edit and possibly import back in, or port over to another system for whatever reason. Yeah, so Carol, if you go ahead and take it.
Okay, so this works on any screen in CribMaster. You know, it works on the transaction screen, which might be a useful way to use it. You know, maybe if you wanted to, for example, filter all of the transactions for a certain item, or, you know, issued to a certain employee or something. I'm going to show, I'm on the inventory records, and you know, everybody knows that with these data grids, you can do all kinds of things. You can remove fields. You can, you know, if you have fields that aren't used, you can drag fields around to suit your fancy. But for example, if I wanted to filter this list of items to maybe everything that is manufactured by, I don't know, let's pick Kimberly-Clark. So now I have filtered my list, and I want this in some usable format. Like I don't want to run a crystal report. I can't really run a crystal report on this. Well, I could, but it would take a lot of clicks. But from here, all I have to do is right click on any column heading and zoom down here and choose the export feature. And then I can put this wherever I want. You know, I can browse around and put it wherever I want to put it. I can name it whatever I want to name it. I'm just going to call this Kimberly-Clark. Inventory. And I'm going to say save. And this can, you know, you can save this anywhere on your network, FTP locations, whatever have you. And if you happen to be on a computer that is running Microsoft Excel, it will even ask you if you want to open it up, and you can click OK. And it will take over. Oh, that has to do with where I saved it. Let me just show that one more time. I'm going to go ahead and save it in a place where I know that I can, somewhere on my desktop. You have to save it in a place that you have access to. So we'll go ahead and save it right there. And we'll just call it by the default name this time. We're going to click Save. And we're going to click OK. And it opens it up in Microsoft Excel. And from here, I can go do whatever I would do with it in Microsoft Excel. Port it into another system, send it off to somebody, use it for analyzation, whatever it is I need to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Carol.
Sure.
All right, so we're running a little bit low on time, so I'm just going to dive into the questions, and then we need about 15 minutes to go through the upgrade process. So if we don't get to your question, we'll take a note of it and follow up with you after the call. Okay, this is a question from Michael Hobbs. Can tool bags be created for a group of employees?
Absolutely. So we can limit it to a group of employees. You can limit it by site. So those options are also available to you.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. This is from Sean. Is it possible to change the size and maybe color of the number on the shopping cart icon?
So that is a change that we are making. It is it was one of the things that I noticed when I was using the shopping cart, that the size and the number that was indicated on the right-hand side of that icon, it was hard to read. So we're working with our UI UX designer, and we're developing some new icons, and we're also making that visibility better for all users.
Awesome, thank you, Chris. Okay, this is a question from Porfirio, and I think I'm interpreting this correctly, but chat me, Porfirio, if I'm not. Will the keyword features display items with or without inventory? So I think what he's asking is if something is out of stock, will it still show up in the keyword filter?
So I believe it will still show up in the keyword filter, but it will be grayed out.
Okay.
The keyword will still be there, and you can still click on the keyword, but the item itself would be grayed out if there was not quantity, just like any search, just like a regular search.
A question from William Allworth. Can the tool bag option be compared to kitting?
Yes. So you can think of tool bag as more of a free form of kitting. So in kits, you want that as established as your forever item. A tool bag is more of just a short-term kit.
And it doesn't actually have an item number. A kit has an item number. A tool bag is just, I think it's based on a view, so it doesn't really, it doesn't have an item number.
Okay, great, that's helpful. William asked if we can provide a list of new features with a short description. Yes, we can. We can send that after as part of our follow-up. Can the toolbox option or tool bag be used with a coil machine?
Yes, it can.
Okay, question from Frank Hill. Tool bag, what about limits, restrictions on items? Well, sorry, go ahead.
If there are items, if you have item limits already set up for each of the items in the tool bag, they would be respected. So if a user has exceeded the amounts and they select it, it will show up on the list that they've selected it, but they will get that notification that they've exceeded that amount and they can't vend the item. If you allow for supervisor override, then the supervisor could come in and allow them access to that item that they've exceeded their limits to.
Okay, great. A question from Porfirio. Can the keywords for each item be uploaded to the client by an Excel sheet?
So can they be imported? Yes, they can be imported. We currently, we've got the list of rule files available in the imports folder in the tree structure after CribMaster installation, and that one being such a new feature, there's actually some tables involved, keywords and linked keywords. So we don't have the rule files published, but I tested it, and yes, they can be imported.
Okay. All right. Another few questions. I'm not exactly sure what this one means, so if you guys need clarification, we can ask Mark Mullner. But he asks, if you copy an employee's features to another employee, will the tool bag follow?
No. So the tool bags, if you haven't created a global tool bag for everyone on your list, the tool bag itself will not follow that employee. We wanted to make this more of a user level when it's created. So, but if it's a global one that you've created for, say, everyone, then yes, they would see it. But copying permissions from one user to the other tool bag will not follow, unfortunately. But that is something that I can look into.
Okay. Mark, let me know if that answered your question or if you meant something a little different.
Yes.
I think we answered Carrie's question. That, I think, was it. Let me just make sure. Okay, another question from Mark. For Toolbag, is there a security setting that prevents an individual from changing items and quantities at the ATR?
Yes, so we have added a feature to not allow them to make any changes to any tool bags.
Okay. Okay, we are at 10:45, so let's transition to the actual upgrade tutorial. So Carol, I will let you take it away.
Okay, so what I am going to show you all is, let's see how many people remember this. It might look familiar to, well, if Mark Molnar is on here, it's going to look familiar to him, but I don't know who else is on here that remembers it.
Mark says, I do.
I have a, this is CribMaster Classic installed on my laptop. And what I'm going to do for this demonstration is I'm going to take a database and I am going to upgrade it from this version all the way to the version that we have been using today, which is the latest published version of CribMaster 11. And you can see that we are on version 7.90.040 here. I believe that there is a further back, I think 7.75 is the absolute lowest CribMaster Classic version that you could come from. So if you're not at that level, you would need to get to that level. This applies to anything from that level, 7.75, up through, you know, a 9.6, a 10.0, a 10.15, or even earlier versions of 11. So let me close this and we're going to come back over to CribMaster Client. We're going to change our data source. Whoops. And CribMaster will restart here. I just want to demonstrate how easy the process really is. And one recommendation that we have, if you are considering doing this with your spare time that you have now during the pandemic or what have you, is we encourage you to make a copy of your existing database, install the latest version of the software on, you know, whatever computer you have available, and obtain a demo code from us, and then you can launch a new version, the new version of CribMaster, against the copy of your database. So it'll be really realistic. You'll be able to see your own data in the new software, and you can play around and do the, you know, functions that you use on a daily basis and see what's been added, see what's changed a little bit. You know, everything that was ever there is still there. Some things may have changed for the better, and then there's been a lot of additions. So the first thing you're going to see once you get your database copied and created in a new, restored in a new space, is when you launch the software, you're going to see this database upgrade notification. And it's going to have a current update revision. Mine is on 6/31. And it's going to be, after the upgrade, the new revision is going to be 9/22. And it even will tell me in a list down here all of the things that are going to happen once I click the Start Upgrade button. It's going to go through here. It's going to add new tables, new fields for the tables, new values for system tables, new RPT files. You know, there's just all kinds of things in here that are going to change if you're interested. But when you're ready, you're going to click the Start Upgrade button. And it's got a progress bar. The actual upgrade itself takes literally less than 10 seconds. Once it's done, you can just close this box, and it is going to pop up the sign-on, the log-on box. Now, one thing that is different, if you've been using 9.6 and above, this is not different, but if you've been using CribMaster Classic, all of the applications are in one application now, and we just have different application roles. There's the CribMaster application role and the admin application role. So if you choose CribMaster, you're going to be using a CribMaster license. If you choose admin, you're going to be using an admin license. So we'll go ahead and pick the admin license and we will log on and whoops, forgot my password. Put that in there. And then you're logged on and here is the new look. Now, one thing, if you are coming from CribMaster Classic, is the shared network paths have changed. So if anyone remembers the old structure, it was in your program files folder and we created a folder called CribMast, and then underneath there we had your data update, logs, and images folders. The path in here is a little bit different and they're kind of in a different place. So you will need to change these to honor see, this is pointing to the old path, CribMast. And not that some of these reports won't work, some of them will, but all of those new reports that you saw during the upgrade process getting added, those have gone to the new tree structure. So you need to make sure to share out the new location and change these to honor that new shared location. And then you can dive in and start using the new software and see what all the new features are about and see how they apply to your processes and all that stuff. So that's all there is to the upgrade.
Yeah, the upgrade is a pretty simple process. After you're done in the upgrade and you change the paths, you want to do the standard things. Make sure your reports are running, check agent, make sure all that is done. But as Carol just demonstrated, upgrading CribMaster, the CribMaster application is not as daunting as a task as you might think. It is a really simple process, and as always, support team is always around to support or answer any questions for you during this process. We have some documents on it also available on our resource site. And yeah, we're always around. So if you have questions or about upgrading or questions about features, please feel free to reach out to us.
All right, thanks guys. All right, let's open it up for questions. Okay, can the demo version be run outside of your live system to avoid any changes or interfere with actual operation?
Yes. In fact, I would recommend putting it on a completely separate, PC. And you're going to start by making a copy of your existing database, and then you're going to create an entirely new database. Like, for example, the two I'm using today, one database is called Upgrade Demo, and the other one is called Webinar. And, in my case, the icons and whatnot look completely different. But I would recommend putting it on a separate computer, if you're going from 10 to 11 or something, and have two separate desktop icons. And anything you do, and you can name it CribMaster Upgrade Evaluation or whatever you want to name your desktop icon. You can even change the icon to something different. So you should be able to pretty easily avoid confusion. And yes, they are going to be two totally separate systems.
Okay, great. A question from Tommy Jackson. Do the ATRs also need to be upgraded?
Yes, there is new software for the ATRs, and you can, depending on if it's a vending machine, you have to decide, do you want to upgrade your vending machine software? Of course, Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe ATR has to be, I believe that the database that your live ATR connects to has to be in sync or ahead. You can't, I don't think you can put a newer version of ATR on a vending machine with a database at an older version.
That's correct, absolutely. The database has to be at the version of the software that you are using.
Or lower. You can use
Correct, it can be lower.
ATR software with a newer database. But so what I'm really saying here is if you want to test the new ATR software, you're not really going to be able to test it on a vending machine unless you have maybe a spare vending machine, which most people probably don't. So, but you could certainly test ATR on a computer, you know, on a laptop like I've been demoing today. If you set it up as a point of use, it doesn't involve any COM ports, and so you can run ATR in a test on your laptop like we used for today's demo.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Also, if you want to use any of the machine functionality in the demo test that you're using, instead of setting up the COM ports, you should set them up as debug so that you can walk through some of the workflows that you know your users would be going through with the new upgrade. So you can test those out prior to launching it and exposing it out to your end users.
Okay.
Amanda, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
So just to show you what Chris was just saying, for example, let's say you wanted to test this as a, I don't know, a modulock. You could move this over here, and you know, you can designate a crib for it, and you can say, okay, this is a, whoops, my ATR always goes in the background when I add things. And you can come over here and you can see where it says COM port. You can put this in debug mode. So it's not going to be, the ATR program is not going to be searching and searching for a COM port, which doesn't exist because you don't physically have a machine, you know, a vending machine attached to your computer. So if you put it in debug mode, you're going to be able to test the functionality of the modulock without ATR searching and searching for a COM port.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question from Carrie Black. Is the new version capable with older vending machines and older express machines?
So yes, our software is backwards compatible. To a certain point. So if you're going all the way, so the only one, no, actually, no, they are completely compatible. I was thinking of the vertical lift machine, and it is actually supported in 11. So yes, all of the machines that we have released in the past are supported with the latest versions of the application.
Great. And a question from Lilia. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry if I didn't, Lilia. How do we prevent not losing the custom reports when we do an upgrade?
That's a very important thing that I forgot to mention. So from that tree structure that we were talking about, one of the subfolders of the data folder in, you know, whether you're in, if you're coming from Classic, there's going to be a subfolder of the data folder called Custom. If you're coming from CribMaster 9.6 or CribMaster 10, the tree is actually going to be, it's going to look like this. Let me just type in what it's going to look like. I don't have my folder shared, but I do know what the, I do know what the structure is. So we actually name it CribMaster, and then we follow it by a number. So for example, if we were coming from CribMaster 10, this would look something like this. These shared folders, they would have, you know, your shared, this is my computer name. The folder is called CribMaster, the subfolder is called 10, and then the data folder. This is where my RPT files are. Now, both systems, Classic all the way up to the latest version of 11, have a subfolder called Custom. What you need to do is copy all of the contents of the custom folder from the older system into the custom folder of the new system, and then when you share this path, it will automatically pick up those files.
Awesome. So we're at time. We got a couple other questions that I think might be warranting their own follow-up. We got a question from Porfirio about what system requirements are needed to upgrade for people who host their own database. So Porfirio, we will follow up with you. Judy and I will give you, shoot you an email afterwards, and we can see exactly what you're looking for there. And then a question from Mark, can you review the ATR update process when upgrading, which is probably another session. Would you agree, Carol?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's a good note though, because we're looking for more content for May and June webinars. So I will make a note that we'll cover that in the next session. And of course, you can always reach out too, and we can show you one-off later as well. Okay. We are at time. Thank you all for your time today. This was really helpful. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and learned something. We will send out the recording later, and feel free to reach out to your sales rep or anyone on the call if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Hi.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your day.